Hey, so welcome again to another episode interview series that I'm having. And this one is really exciting for my entrepreneurs out there who may be struggling with finding their ideal customer avatar. I know we hear so many times it's like, why do I have to niche down? Like, why do I have to focus on one person? It's so hard and I can sell to everyone. And so I'm hoping that this guest that we have today, that I'm so excited to talk to, can really narrow that down and help us who might be struggling with coming up with our ideal client. And so Debbie Pace, she's here. I'm so excited that she's here. Let me just read her bio just really quickly because she's just absolutely extraordinary. But Debbie Pace is a disability expert and coach, author of The Journal to Freedom, and host of the Show Up Show podcast. She is a former U.S. Navy journalist with nearly 3 decades of award-winning military and commercial broadcasting and journalism experience, from radio and TV news anchoring and reporting to online news and editing, writing and producing, and even some country music DJing. Like, wow, like let's talk to this girl, but let me continue. I'm getting off topic. She is also a triathlete and a firewalker 4 times and counting, a certified quantum flow practitioner, and a Reiki master. Debbie brings an MBA, NLP, sound healing, acoustic, record clearing, and many other trainings and coaching powerhouse clients to overcome any and every obstacle to keep them from fully unleashing their powerful message from the soul that effortlessly attracts their ideal clients and enables them to live the life of freedom, purpose, and impact. And I love that because I really only love talking to impactful entrepreneurs. Debbie, thank you so much for being here and welcome.
April, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Awesome. So please, tell our audience a little bit of your backstory. Like, how did you come to your journey that it is today?
Well, obviously it's a long one, but I'll give you the short version of it.
Okay.
I was basically a career broadcaster and journalist. I always looked around me to look at who would I be competing with when I went to college. That's what I did. I looked around at who am I going to be competing with when I graduate. And I was in a small state, and there was like one real big TV station. And I looked around and thought, I'm going to be competing with all these people. And not that I thought I wouldn't get it, because I've been a manifester my whole life. And when I really set my mind to something and I really believe in it, I achieve it. But I looked around and thought, I don't want to be competing with the same people for like the same 4 jobs. And so I went in the Navy. And I got guaranteed broadcasting and journalism and everything. And it was really interesting. I was stationed down in Cuba, but there was always something in me that was a little bit rebellious and always danced to the beat of my own drum. And that stayed with me through everything that I did. I've always been a really high achiever. I pushed myself really hard. And back in 2012, I ended up going through a divorce, and a business that I was trying to get off the ground went bankrupt. And I pretty much couldn't afford the home that I was in with my 2 kids. And so I really turned the mirror on myself at that point and said, okay, you're the common denominator here. It's you. So let's take a look and see what's going on. And I really felt this pull at the time to be doing more. When you talk about that word impact, I love that you said that, because people who came here to make impact know it. There's this fight sometimes within to fit into the corporate world, to be happy with that 6-figure 9-to-5 job, or even if it's 5-figure 9-to-5 job, but to really fit in. And I always knew I didn't. I would look at people and think, that's not really right. And when I would speak up or say that I felt something differently, I would always be penalized in the system for speaking my truth. And I've been a messenger my whole life as a broadcaster and journalist. And I thought, how can I take this in a way that is of such great service to people? And really the whole visibility thing it became so clear. One day it smacked me in the face, because I've kind of backed into coaching. I've backed into everything my whole life. I was always like, let's just keep doing the thing and push harder and let's make this work. And when I learned to really start looking in, leaning in, and that's when I became a Reiki master and really started using some of these healing tools to step outside of my head and into my heart, I was really able to connect with people in such a different way. Instead of trying to beat over the head what I could offer them, I started to really open up and be that person. And then that's when things really started happening for me. And I saw that I had something that would help so many people struggling, doing what their coaches are telling them, and they're showing up in these ways, but it really wasn't authentic, and it didn't feel right. And I'll just tell the community right now, if it doesn't feel good or it doesn't feel right, it's not. And it's really time to take a step back and take a deeper look at what does feel right.
Yes, I love that so much. Like, I love your journey, and I feel like so many people can relate. I can relate. I started out in corporate America, and at one point I thought, yeah, I have to climb the corporate ladder. And then being in a small town that I'm in, like, you got a job at corporate, like you were somebody, like you were a celebrity. And when you had that badge on your car, it's like everybody knew like you worked at corporate. And there was this culture there that if you were to ever, God forbid, want to leave, you would be nothing. And it was a culture there. And I felt like it was a culture in the town, but it never really felt right. So I love that. I love that. And so this is what, generally, I know we're going to be talking about ideal clients, but this is what you help your audience do to leave their 9 to 5.
Yeah. And it's really, they already know. Here's the thing. It's not like you're working in corporate and you're loving your job and you're making good money and you're going, maybe I want to change. It's really, the people that I work with are purpose and impact driven. And honestly, this pathway pulled me. I resisted it so much because it didn't fit that modality that I was raised in, that said, same thing. You go to corporate, you retire there and you get a pension and you do all these things. And yeah, my parents lived in that was their framework for life. And so it started to become mine. The thing that I'll say though, is I always knew I was a messenger. And so I always knew that whatever I did, I needed to be a voice of truth, of good, of positive. And so, we look at some of the things that I've done in my life, and being a morning news anchor and a journalist, and a reporter. The thing that I didn't really resonate with was going to all these places and seeing these people who were in these jobs and doing these things. And sometimes it would be some of the really dark stuff. And I just never subscribed to that, and it never felt right. And I thought there has to be something more. And so by getting curious, both within and through journaling, and that's why I wrote the Journal to Freedom, but really by getting curious and asking ourselves the right question, we can go in there and really understand, is it resistance to a particular thing? Is it resistance to this whole thing? Do I really need to just drop it all and make a purposeful pathway for my life? And, it's not saying you have to necessarily take the leap. A lot of celebrity entrepreneurs and just celebrities in general will say, take the leap, but you really need to have a structure to support you if you are going to take that leap. So, because I'll tell you, I've done it. I took the leap twice. And one time I completely quit my journalism stuff, and I wasn't making income yet. And I thought, okay, well, maybe that wasn't the right thing. And what happens is, even if it is the right thing, fear comes in and we start panicking and we go, I've got bills, and I was fully supported, but I've always been of the mindset that I need to be self-sufficient. And so I was looking at things going, oh no, this isn't working. And because I didn't create a powerful enough pull on the other side, I went right back to the journalism and, still continued to do the coaching, but I wasn't able to really be so powerful and show up in the way I wanted to, because I kind of sold my soul a little bit to the fear. And so what I really do is help people stop selling their soul to fear and really own it and honor it, with that pull that's within whatever it is. For me, it was visibility. For me, it was, I remember being a 5-year-old girl and just walking around and talking to people and having conversations and seeing the beauty and the power and the absolute divinity in everybody. And I didn't understand that everyone couldn't see that. And I call that my unfair advantage, because when I see you, Aprille, I look at you and all I see is this beautiful, bright light emanating from you. And I make jokes and I say, when I walk into a room, I say, I see a bunch of 5-year-olds on the playground, and I can see the ones who are spinning the merry-go-round so fast until they get sick. And I can see the ones on the tire swing, and I can see the ones on the monkey bars challenging themselves, trying to make it across. And, and so I see that when I play in life, and I call it play because it used to be so hard. And I really want to be that beacon of what's possible, and that beacon of how impactful your change can be when you follow it from your source, from your soul.
I love that. And I'm taking notes, and I sell soul to fear. Like, I love that. And I did the same thing. I kind of just, you know what, blow this 9 to 5. I jumped out there and I did not make it. I had to go back, but I didn't make it because I was doing the work. I wasn't doing the work because I sold my soul to fear, and I was scared of visibility and putting myself out there. And then, so I totally get that. And so you, for the entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs who are going out there, they want to impact the world, you help them overcome barriers in finding their ideal clients. And so what do you mean by barriers? Like, what would be a typical barrier?
Showing up, doing canned messages. Like
I said.
Doing canned messages that you think you're supposed to do. So trying to fit within a structure that you don't fit in. And that is the biggest barrier of, I think I need to say this, or the other really big barrier is, like we said, selling your soul to fear. When you do that, guess who knows that? Your audience. They can feel it, because we're all energy. And I do a lot of energy work and healing work, but we're all energy. And so how are you resonating? Are you resonating at the frequency of, I'm abundance, I'm amazing, and I know that this can help you, and I just am so excited to bring it to you? Or are you vibrating at the resonance of, I am scared, girl, I need some money, please pay me, buy my thing, I know it's great, but maybe it's not, because maybe I have imposter syndrome, and maybe I'm not as good as I thought. And so it's really, there's all this crap that comes in. And so really sifting through that and stepping and standing in the power of who you are and what you really are here to do. It's so funny, Aprille, because every great coach needs a great coach. And this morning, my coach was on Clubhouse talking about, you have a responsibility to show up for the people that you came here to help, because if you don't show up, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go buy some subpar service or some subpar coach or whatever it is, and they're not going to get the quality and the level of service that you can bring to them. If I didn't show up today, Aprille, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation. And there may be one nugget in here that can move one person from fear to action, from fear to belief. And if we didn't show up, and if you didn't get out of bed and put that awesome lipstick on your face today, we wouldn't be able to have any kind of impact. And it may not even be here. It may be when we leave here and we go somewhere else and we do something else. But it's that energy that's resonating out to our community when we stand in the belief that what we do matters and we are powerful at doing it.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. And so, so you help us overcome that. And do you have a methodology? Are there steps in doing that?
Well, I guess I do. I do. I have all kinds of secret formulas.
Wow.
No, I have a 7-step freedom accelerator process. And
cool.
because we're going in this place right now, I'll share with your community. The very first step is faith. It's faith. But I want to share something real vulnerable for me, which is, I did it backwards, just like I have done everything in my life. I back into it with the beep, 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 and so I wrote the journal to freedom, not realizing that the word freedom was an acronym for my 7-step process. And 2 years or 3 years after I wrote the book, I realized that that's what I had done. So it was like Debbie of the past kept leaving these breadcrumbs, or she did things that were difficult and in fear that were foundational for who I needed to be a few years later to show up and pull from all these resources. When I finally got out of my own emotional and mental way and started realizing and stepping into that power that I help people step into. And so faith is really about what we're talking about right here. It's about the faith that even when it feels scary, or even when it looks messy, or even if your camera cuts off in the middle of a Zoom interview, which has happened, even if your kids come in and hijack your live stream, which I actually had a memory pop up yesterday and I was like, oh, okay, well, that happened. You flow through it, because what people are really going to be attracted to is you and your mess. How many people can we go out there and look on social media and see perfect lives? That doesn't make me feel good about myself. But you know what makes me feel good about myself? When I see somebody whose kid shows up on a live stream, or their dog barks and they laugh, or their hair's sticking up and they don't know it, or they know it and they're like, I ran out of time and I had to show up. And, it's really the humanness. We have to bring more of that human element into who we are and what we do, because the more we try to pretend we're not human, or that, my lighting doesn't suck today, that I'm now the sun shining, but you show up anyway, and it can be imperfect. And when you do that, you open that door for your community to also be perfect. We're giving them permission to just show up as who they are and feel into it and be okay.
Yeah, I love that. I feel we don't do that enough. And I think that's one of the things I love about Clubhouse. You can hear the baby crying in the background, the toilet flushing. And it's like, man, this is real. Like, people are just like having dinner and on the phone. So I love that. And I love that realness. And I feel like so many times we get lost in looking at people who are 20 years ahead of us. They have a team of 12 or 50. They have an HR, and they're influencer entrepreneurs too. And here we are, day 2. Oh my gosh, my lives don't look like that. I'm saying too much. And it's like, hello, you're comparing yourself to somebody that's a production team and a budget of like $1 million. So,
Exactly.
So start where you are.
Yes. Exactly. Start where you are, and also allow yourself to be human. So so my podcast, the Show Up Show, I actually have an editor who is amazing, and he just wants me to sound so perfect and have this amazing, perfect, polished product, because like attracts like, and because of the journalism and stuff, I really wanted to make sure that someone who was working on my products had the same level that I did. But sometimes I have to step back and say, it's okay to leave me breathing in there. And it's okay if I say because he's like, you said so many times. And I love you, Neil, if you're watching. But I said, it's okay, because I do say and I'm not on the air as an anchor, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm not talking to corporate or, the mainstream element necessarily. Like, I'm talking to my people. I'm talking to my friends, my family, my community. And I say, and I, look away and I forget what I'm saying. And I say, right? Like 3 times or whatever. So it's all human. It's all the humanness. And if I show up as a visibility expert and I am 100% polished and on point, people are going to keep comparing themselves to that. And that's what I don't want. I don't want someone to do exactly what you said, Aprille, which I did too, by the way. I wouldn't call myself a visibility expert for years, because there was somebody else who was doing it. And she had this beautiful Instagram page. And I thought, oh, well, I can't call myself that, because she's already got, like, what? We only need one person to help with visibility in the world? It's like my husband said years and years ago. He said, Debbie, every town needs more than one mechanic. One mechanic can't handle all the broken cars. And, and it's funny, because he's not a coach. He's not a trained coach. And sometimes he comes up with those things. And I'm like, well, I should have come up with that. But, it's who you surround yourself with, people who are here supporting you. And I think that that's the other, in some of my secret formulas, I call them secret. It's so funny, but they're just my formulas. But one of the things that I really, really stress is surrounding yourself with people who support you. Because I'll tell you, I had friends and family unfriend me, unfollow me, like leave my Facebook groups, because some of the things that I say are confronting. If I say show up anyway, there's probably a lot of people who watch this who go, no, I can't. It has to be perfect. And the same story I told myself. I was in broadcasting, and I'm a visibility expert, and it's what I'm teaching. You go into a different voice, so it's clearly not me. And it's like, it had to look perfect. But I thought, no, the more I gave myself permission to be imperfect and show up scared. And, I tried out for The Voice it was last year. So in 2019, I tried out for The Voice. And I will tell you, from the moment I clicked the sign up button to secure my spot, to the moment I walked out of there, I was scared. I thought I was going to get sick, and the visibility expert, right? but you do it anyway. And I can't even tell you the level of learnings and understandings and growth I had, and the amazing people I got the opportunity to meet and be around because I chose to do it in fear.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so step one, operate in faith. What's the next nugget you want to share with us?
So I'll jump to the end. Momentum is a key. So many
Yes.
times, right? So you go from F to M, and then everything in between is really, really important. But when you do the work, when you do the inner work, which is what a lot of my stuff focuses on, because you might think it's about the camera, the microphone, or dressing properly. I'm pretty sure my V is crooked in my shirt today, and I thought it's okay. I like the color. We're wearing it. We're going with it. We're gonna just enjoy it. But it's not about that stuff. It's really about showing up as who you are and having that faith that there's a person out there who's going to need it. And it might not even be today. It might be a year from now. You could have a message that saves someone's life, shifts their life, or helps them step into their life of purpose. We just don't know it. And once we have that real strong, solid faith, and we do the work and we keep doing the work so that we continue to show up and elevate so we can bring a higher and higher level of service to our community, we need momentum to carry us through, because you're going to have up and down days. Imposter syndrome, things like that, they continue to crop in. It's just a natural human response. But what we do with that is what matters when we show up anyway. So a key part of the momentum is getting people around you who do support you, who share your vision, or at least who vibrate at the same level of growth, support, and impact that you do.
Okay, so I love that you said surround yourself with people who share your vision and support you. But a lot of times we don't have that in our family, in our friends. I mean, maybe if we were, talking about something else like weight loss, or I want to do a marathon or something. But like entrepreneurship, like to have the audacity to want to change the world and make an impact. Like a lot of times we don't have that. How does one find that?
So one of the things that I did very early on online, and probably back in like 2012, 13, when I was going through that really, really dark place, was I found someone who I resonated with. And interestingly enough, the first person that really helped me was Joel Osteen. And I come from a very, I'll call it a broken religious background. And so I was so resistant to all of those kinds of messages. But it was the one thing, because he had this, and I kept watching this video over and over, and it was about your miracle's closer than you think. And I was trying to reconcile my marriage, which I did successfully, by the way. We got remarried in 2015. But I needed someone to believe in me more than I believed in it myself at that point, because my belief level was at a very low. It's like a half, not even a one. And knowing that someone so powerful was bringing such a message to, and I just kept feeding myself with that and feeding myself with that. And then I started online finding people who the messages made me feel better about myself and not worse about myself, because we have this comparison situation and the imposter syndrome. What we really need to do is have people reminding us of the messages every day, that you're doing it, you're showing up, you're beautiful, you're amazing just as you are, and the world needs your message. And so the more you can find people online, and in a situation like we're in today, it's more powerful than ever to surround yourself with those people. And I would say, just what do you want? Just go on Facebook, and whatever is most important to you right now, if it's visibility or if it's mindset or if it's whatever, just put that term in a Facebook bar or whatever, an Instagram, and look at the people talking about it. Follow them. Go and buy their programs. Let them have belief in you, or borrow their belief, until you have it enough that you start showing up in a way that your community needs you to show up.
Yeah, perfect tip. So go to Facebook or, whatever, and type in that search term and see who comes up, and then just start following them. If they have a course, purchase that course, go through that course, let them know how that course changed your life, especially if it's an influence. influencer, and they're going to get to know you. And yeah, that's how connections start building. Like I really, really love that.
Yeah. And collaborations were key for me early on too. Collaborating with people who were fans of mine, who just were so supportive, and likewise. So I was so supportive of them and what they were doing. And we collaborated and we created a podcast, and they ended up interviewing Gary Vee on the podcast. But just collaborating in, I'm doing a Clubhouse thing later today. And so really finding like-minded people who share that mission can help give you that momentum sometimes. It gives you that accountability, which is really what, the M part of the freedom process is about. So having that energy and really working together to create something even bigger than yourselves is so much easier when you have someone that you're collaborating with and who's in the space and believes in it with you.
Yes, I love that. And if you are kind of nervous about collaborating on social media, go to Clubhouse. I found it like so much easier because nobody can see you. Nobody sees what you're wearing.
Exactly.
You quickly mute yourself. So maybe even just starting there and finding collaborations and getting on stage and asking questions. All this is totally awesome. So if someone was going to implement finding faith or implement the momentum, what might get in their way that you can kind of like really quickly like coach them through?
The number one thing that's going to get in your way are the stories that aren't true that you tell yourself and you repeat in your head all day long, every day. And we've talked about so many of them already on this interview, but it really is about going back and drilling down to where did that story come from? Where did I hear that? That's some of the work that I do in my journal to freedom, which I'm actually about to publish in paperback. This is my little author copy. But I do all of this really deep work with you in that. And so it starts with asking yourself the question or catching it first, right? Because we don't realize at first, before we're really doing the deep work, we don't realize that the voices are talking to us. We don't even realize what we're hearing. We just know that we feel bad about it, or we think we can't do it. So get very, very aware of what you're hearing in your head, of what the stories are telling you, and then start getting curious and going, okay, where did that story come from? So for me, the story kind of started with my dad, and we have a great relationship now. We have an absolutely amazing relationship, but he thought he was protecting me from disappointment and from getting hurt. And it really was about, I wanted to be a singer. I always tell people I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a star when I was really young, and I would always perform. And I remember just nailing these comedians' performances and making everybody laugh and everything. But he would tell me, oh, you'll never make it. You'll never make it. You'll never make it. And I think that he thought he was helping me by not going down there and falling on my face, right? But so the stories that I would hear about why I couldn't do this, or shouldn't show up for this interview, or shouldn't have this conversation, or send this resume, or whatever, were always that story. And it wasn't just about that. It was about everything. So the story came from somewhere so long ago. And when I owned that and pulled it outside of me, I was like, this story is no longer mine. This is my dad. I love you, Dad. Sit here. Because I got this over here, and I'm an adult now, and I'm making my own path. And when we pull that outside of ourselves, it no longer has that control over us. And then we get more present when it does show up, and we go, okay, no, not me, not me. So it's a muscle building process. And the more that we build that muscle, the stronger we get, and the more we're on path, and the more we show up without all that resistance. So that's the number one thing, are those stories. And you can pick up the Journal to Freedom. It's on Amazon, and it'll walk you through this entire process. And when you get to the end, it does all the things that we can do working together. Some people like books, they like journaling, and they prefer to move that way. That's definitely the way that I would encourage them to go. But I teach the same stuff no matter how you come into my community. It's all the same. It's getting to that center of where did this come from, pulling out all the stories that aren't you, and then just going down that fire path of this is why I'm here, this is my purpose, and this is the impact I am absolutely committed to making.
Wow. I feel like our life mirrors because I had a similar story that kept me stuck, where my dad is just trying to protect me. And I I feel like I'm a natural born artist. Like I love painting, I love drawing, and I was really good at it. I went to school for it. I won prizes on it.
Wow.
And then when I was 18 and when I'm deciding, okay, what do I want to major in? I really wanted to major in art. And to protect me, my father said, you cannot make it as an artist. Like people just don't make it as an artist. Like only like top people make it as an artist. You need to go into business. And so I majored in business because he wanted me to be able to get a job anywhere. And what he didn't say that I heard was, I cannot make money doing what I love and passionate to do. And so for a long time in my business, like I struggled with making money with something that I was really good at and love to do, because it's like, well, you're not supposed to make money. And so if you make money, you're going to make your dad wrong. And you don't want to make your dad wrong because you love your father.
You can't win. The story is so you cannot win. You do this right. And you're stuck in this pattern. And it's so funny. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because so many people do get stuck in that pattern. And that's why it's so important to keep going back and pull out that story. And okay, so this is no longer the story. Well, then why am I still not doing it? Well, because if what dad said was wrong, then dad's wrong. And I put him up on, like, I don't want him to be wrong. So I'll take one for the team and I'll be not unsuccessful, unfulfilled. I'd rather it's good enough, right? So many people are living in this good enough life. I actually just had a conversation with a friend from high school this morning talking about, I just got a new job. It's not my dream job, but it's, so I don't lose the house kind of job, which is important. Okay. Especially people with families. But there's a way to set yourself up so that you're not sacrificing it. So like balance in your life. How can you pursue the art and do the art while also doing the things that are necessary right now in what you've structured right now, but prepare it and create that vision and start living into that dream and move yourself into that new place? Because I think that most people, it's either or. It's like, either I do this, so either I don't have money and I do my art, or I do corporate and I basically sacrifice my soul for the money. I used to call it, golden handcuffs is a very common term, but and that's what journalism has been for me for most of my life. It was like, oh, but I'm really good at it. I call it shadow purpose. So many people are living their shadow purpose. You can make all the monies in the shadow purpose, but guess what you can't make? You can't make yourself happy. You can't make yourself feel fulfilled. And chances are you cannot make the impact that you absolutely came here to make if you're still in your shadow purpose and you're not jumping in faith at least some of the time to spend time building out that dream and that vision.
This has been awesome. I'm definitely going to get my hands on that book. Tell me the name of the book again, and then you can go on to, like, if someone wants to work with you, if someone wants to learn more, how can we find you?
I tend to live on Facebook. You can find me on all the social media channels, but I'm on Facebook at Debbie Pace Global. I share a lot of the content there, and I'm on Facebook at Debbie Pace, which is where the link to the book and all that and the Show Up show are. So, but it started Debbie Pace Global, the Facebook page, because that's where I tend to really show up for the community in a way. Like, I share all kinds of personal stuff on my business page too, but I share it publicly because I want people to see all sides of me. So if you want to see all sides, you can go to the Debbie Pace page, but the business stuff and the links to some of the work are on Debbie Pace Global.
Awesome. This has been so amazing. Such an awesome interview. Thank you so much for doing this. Is there anything you want to, one short little nugget you want to leave our viewers with before we depart?
I will say, I use the hashtag freedom is within, because many times we're looking for the freedom from our job, our family, our whatever, the things we're running from, whether we're eating or drinking or doing things that are unhealthy for us. We're running from something, or we're running to try and find something to make us feel better, to fix us. When we really do the work and go within and put that mirror up and say, okay, I'm ready to face this. I'm ready to make the change. That is when freedom truly comes for us.
Perfect. I love that. I love it. Okay. Thank you so much for volunteering to do this. And I will talk to everybody later. Bye. And be sure to go below this video, because we're going to have all of Debbie's contacts all of her resources, links in there, so you can go check her out for yourself. And everyone have an amazing day. Bye.